isn't your typical warrior type. It's a rather unfortunate character who doesn't really possess much physical prowess.
Well, I'm not much good at anything is all. I'm as weak as a kitten and thick as 2 planks.
His lack of brawn forces him to adopt less direct methods of combat, so he has resorted to using poison. It's likely because no matter how strong your opponent is, the right amount of poison can bring anyone to their knees. Poison has been referred to as a woman's weapon, possibly due to its underhanded, less confrontational nature, something that doesn't require you to get your hands dirty. But poison isn't Thiollier's true passion. His questline revolves around something much more mysterious: sleep.
Sleep is a balm. An eternal sleep is an elixir.
Thiollier's obsession with sleep goes beyond a typical night's rest. There's a substantial overlap between sleep and death, which is colloquially known as the big sleep. Thiollier, however, isn't chasing ordinary slumber, but something far more profound and dangerous. I know some of you like to use my videos as background noise or even to help you fall asleep, and I really appreciate that. If you're looking for a new way to listen to my content, I'm excited to tell you about today's sponsor, Raycon. Their everyday earbuds are perfect for listening to audiobooks or music while walking or running. Because they're so super secure, no matter how intense your scheduled grass touching gets, they won't fall out. They're also comfortable when lying back and putting on a 10-hour lore compilation, as they fit flush in your ear with no discomfort. One thing I value in earbuds is how well they fit, and Raycon absolutely nails this. Whenever I've tried a generic earbud in the past, I don't know if I have strange or small ear holes, but they always never seem to sit comfortably. Raycon's optimized shape and range of gel tips are designed to perfectly fit in any ear shape. Another feature I really like is the active noise cancellation mode. With one button push, I can instantly block out the world and focus on my funk edit audios that boost your aura playlist. Another feature I like is the awareness mode, which allows me to hear any noises around me when I'm out and about. Raycon's earbuds come in different colours, and the protective cases have a selection pattern so you can find something that will fit your style. Their charging case offers up to 32 hours of battery life, so you won't have to worry about running on empty with their wireless charging. So if you're in the market for some new earbuds and want to support my channel at the same time, then may I recommend that you go to buyraycon.com/chalice today to get 20 to 50% off site-wide. That's right, you get up to 50% off everything on Raycon's website when you go to buyraycon.com/chalice. Thank you so much to Raycon for sponsoring this video. Now let's get into the lore. As you progress through Thiollier's questline, you'll be tasked with providing him with a crucial item he's been searching for. Samor, another one of Miquella's followers and an expert in obtaining rare items, helps you acquire a rather sinister vat of black syrup. Thiollier doesn't explain its purpose, but hints that it's a key ingredient in his concocting. When you press him for more details, he offers you a sample of his somniferous elixir, warning you that if you are ever weary of life's burdens, you only need to drink it. Whatever Thiollier has done to alter this black syrup has resulted in a potion that induces a possibly eternal sleep. You can give this elixir to the Dragon Communion Priestess, as the item description suggests that it is powerful enough to put the oldest of dragons to sleep. But here's the most important thing. If you drink the potion, you don't just fall asleep, you fall into eternal sleep, you die. The potion essentially lifts the weight of all your burdens by ending your life entirely. Whether this was Thiollier's intention all along is up for debate, but he does imply this when he tells you after hearing you're tired of life.
For you, it will grant the sweetest slumber for all eternity.
It's unclear if Thiollier is fully aware of the lethal potential of his concoction, but his words suggest that for those desperate enoughs, eternal sleep could be seen as a gift. It seems that he's trying to recreate something akin to Trina's Nectar, trying to match its potency. However, his attempt appears unsuccessful, lacking the sweetness of the nectar and the gentleness of rest's embrace that Trina's Nectar is known for. So what exactly is Trina's Nectar like? To experience that, we need to find Trina herself. She resides in a ruin deep underground, south of the Land of Shadow. While there's no boss fight against Trina, a terrifying creature guards her dwelling place, the Putrescent Night. Putrescence is decay or rot, or in this case, the decomposing matter that accumulates around Trina. The putrescent night embodies this decay, somehow animated and conscious after consuming Trina's nectar. It was granted eternal rest, and so it was that putrescence became her night. This night, loyal to Trina, exists solely to protect her. It manifests death and sleep, themes that will reoccur in Trina's story. Upon entering Trina's chamber, you are greeted by a beautiful sight. Trina's character design is incredible. The silhouette, the color palette, and the pose collectively evoking feelings of peace and sadness, which is very fitting for an entity of eternal sleep. A particularly striking aspect of her design is the flower-like structure that appears to grow around her. It's quite surreal, her long, flowing hair blending with the drooping petals. Upon closer inspection, it becomes apparent that flowers do not merely surround her, she seems to be growing from the plant itself. Breaking down her character model, as Bonfire VN has done, reveals a fascinating detail. Her upper body is actually attached via a stem to the main plant, implying that her head resembles the flower and her hair is the petals. Thiolier's weapon further supports this, as it states, St. Trina blossomed in the deep purple garden. Initially, this might have seemed like, excuse the pun, but flowery language, a poetic metaphor for her state. However, it becomes clear that she has indeed bloomed like a flower in this garden, likely due to what I will discuss next, Nectar. Trina doesn't speak or interact with you at first. The only action available is imbibing the legendary nectar we have heard so much about. And what happens when you drink it? You die. Whether it really causes death or sleeping forever is ambiguous. Are they the same thing? Well, not really, because this death is meant to happen. The world doesn't reset after you die, so to speak. It is an intentional part of the quest. To progress, you must drink the nectar and die 4 times. I'm actually going to sit up straight to talk about this section. I know this sounds frustrating, repeating the same action, running back, collecting your runes over and over again 4 times with no feedback from the game. It's slightly excessive even for a FromSoft game. It's definitely one of those moments where you think, how on earth was I supposed to figure this out? And I'm not going to sit here and patronize you with this ultra tin foil hat theory, explaining the importance of the number 4 and how it's intentional and some sort of grand plan by Miyazaki. I found it monotonous and slightly inaccessible, especially because there is no visual or auditory clue that you're really doing the right thing before one would understandably give up and go somewhere else. But despite any personal gripes, after the 4th death, something significant finally happens. A voice speaks.
Miquella, stop. Don't turn the poor thing into a god.
This is Trina pleading with you to prevent Miquella's ascension to godhood. Now, I haven't delved too much into the overarching plot of the DLC yet in my videos, but the main goal is to challenge Miquella and his quest for godhood. He envisions creating a new ideal world, but Trina's play suggests that his methods and the consequences are terrible. As you progress through the DLC, you get hints that Miquella's rise to godhood may not be as benevolent as it seems. The process requires him to shed not just parts of his body, but also parts of his mind, spirit, and abstract concepts such as fear and love. As you follow Miquella's journey, you encounter evidence of his sacrifices marked by the crosses that you find to signify each fragment he has abandoned. The theme of love becomes particularly important. You find a cross that states, Miquella has cast aside this very concept. Here I abandon my love. This abandonment of humanity shows the lengths to which Miquella has gone to achieve his godhood. It raises the question, is godhood worth the loss of everything that makes you human? Even more chillingly is a ghost positioned near this cross, who reprimands Miquella for doing this. Kindly Miquella, I see you've thrown away something you should not have under any circumstances. Reading this line gave me a deep sense of unease, and for many players it stands out as one of the most unnerving moments in the DLC. The weight of these words, with the lack of voiceover, just environmental storytelling, invites you to reconsider our understanding of Miquella, a new, colder, unsettling side of him. The leading theory behind why Miquella did this begins with suggesting that he pushed or dropped Trina down this fissure, this hole in the floor. This is supported by the cross nearby and the mention of abandoning something at the spot. It is also supported by the story trailer, where we see a purple-hued figure with long flowing hair and an outstretched hand, now thought to be Trina. Later, when we encounter her in the game, the shape and position of her body could be described as broken, as if she had suffered a significant fall, her back and neck twisted in unnatural ways. Suppose Trina is a facet of love. That would mean she represents a powerful, yet irrational, biased and all-consuming feeling like love is. Miquella had to rid himself of her to entirely remove these feelings of love, as the two are theorized to be the same being or parts of the same being. The lore from the base game supports this theory, remarking on Trina's ambiguous form. Accounts of her appearance vary wildly. Some say she is a comely young girl, others are sure he is a boy. My neck hurts a lot, so I'm going to readjust my position. Additionally, the torch depiction of Trina as an adult and the similarity between Miquella and Trina's lilies have hinted at their intertwined nature. The discrepancies in Trina's form left many players uncertain if she was fluid, having a shifting identity, or if she was in fact someone who just looked very similar to Miquella. Now with the DLC, it seems evident that Trina and Miquella are deeply connected, if not the same person in some sense. So how does this connection work? Were they able to switch identities at will, alternating between appearing as Miquella one day and Trina the next? Or is Trina simply a fragment of Miquella's psyche, a part of him that he ultimately discarded? Either way, it seems that Miquella was able to remove a part of himself, hence the term abandonment. It's important to consider alternative interpretations of Trina's fate, particularly the idea that she wasn't simply thrown down the hole due to the location of her body. Her final resting place is much, much deeper underground, far from where one would expect if she had been merely pushed down here. It suggests that Trina managed to crawl away, or was carried, or perhaps even wasn't as gravely injured as initially believed. There is also a moment where, before reaching Trina's boss room, you make this massive jump and receive no fall damage, a leap of faith. This jump could represent a symbolic recreation of her fall, or perhaps it is the same shaft from which she initially fell or was pushed. However, there is one substantial clue that suggests that she did initially fall and somehow travel to her current position because of the blood trails. As you descend through the stone coffin fissure, you come across nectar blood flowers, small purple plants that have a chilling description, said to burgeon forth where the nectar-like blood of abandoned Trina pooled. Once pools of blood, this clue strongly indicates that Trina somehow journeyed through this area after her fall, her nectar-like blood dripping onto the ground and nourishing the flora. Nectar-like blood could also explain why you are prompted to imbibe nectar when approaching Trina. It would suggest that you are drinking Trina's blood when you do so. The dark purple streaks across her face may even be indicative of the wounds from her fall, the very source of the blood that you were consuming. Regardless of technicalities, Miquella did abandon her, and now she resides in the underground area. Thiollier and Leda confirm Trina's identity, referring to her as Miquella's other half, not just a fragment, but a true half. Leda even says,
St. Trina's love for kind Miquella is boundless. She is, after all, his other half. Or perhaps her feelings go beyond even that. Even if she was left behind, I doubt her heart would waver.
This speaks to Trina's unwavering devotion to Miquella, a love so intense that it transcends normal human feelings. Perhaps this is because they once shared the same body. After all, she does embody love in its purest form. Her feelings for Miquella probably are much more than just simple affection or romantic feelings. they are a much deeper connection than we can ever comprehend. However, when Trina finally does speak to you in the cave after you've imbibed her nectar, she doesn't tell you to protect her love, Miquella. She doesn't say words to the effect of, leave him alone, don't touch him. Instead, she pleads with you to do the opposite, to stop him. By drinking the nectar twice more, you unlock more of her dialogue.
Godhood would be Miquella's prison. A caged divinity is beyond saving.
Trina is one of the few characters in the DLC who explicitly clarifies that Miquella is up to no good and must be stopped. Her message leaves no room for ambiguity. She outright tells you that Miquella's plan will end in tragedy and pleads with you to prevent it. Another character who shares this same passion and sentiment is Saransberg, who speaks ominously about Miquella's true nature.
Miquella the Kind is a monster, pure and radiant. He wields love to shrive clean the hearts of men. There is nothing more terrifying.
Ansbach's statement and fear of Miquella and his use of love as a weapon is deeply ironic, given that Miquella has already abandoned Trina, a part of his very love. It suggests that Miquella no longer needs love to manipulate or influence those around him. Having used it long enough to charm, control, and further his agenda, he now discarded Trina when she was no longer of any use to him, as well as severing any lingering guilt or personal attachment to her. Trina, whom he once wielded like a tool, was abandoned, no longer serving a purpose in his grand design.
You must kill Miquella. Grant him forgiveness.
After you learn all of this from Trina, there's an intriguing interaction available with Thiollier. After he makes his way to her resting place, his response reveals the depth of his obsession with her.
I'm drifting off in the sea of her poison. Soon I will hear her voice. Let me be. I won't be long.
Interestingly, Thiollier refers to Trina's influence as poison, a term that doesn't typically align with the idea of sleep, but poison and sleep do share some similarities. They both creep in slowly and insidiously and ultimately cause you to close your eyes, whether temporarily or permanently. Could explain Thiollier's affinity for poison, as he likely views it as a vessel for sleep, another means to the same end.
Why won't you share your voice with me? Grant me more of your poison, that I might drift further into sleep. Perhaps then you'll grace me with your voice.
Thiollier's obsession with Trina is insatiable. He seeks deep enough sleep to hear Trina's voice. I explain why he was so determined to acquire that black syrup, hoping to create a strong enough concoction to induce the sleep he seeks and commune with his beloved St. Trina.
You mustn't follow my example. St. Trina's poison would plunge you into an eternal slumber. It must be me, and only me.
His devotion and worship are so extreme that he sees himself as her chosen one. I don't know if you've ever been around fans of particular fandoms or communities when something doesn't go their way, so you can imagine what would happen if you were to tell Thiollier, St. Trina's #1 superfan, that you managed to hear Trina's words first.
I am the chosen, not you. Only I can doze off in the sea of St. Trina. Why would you hear her voice when I cannot?
He despairs, unable to fathom why a stranger with no prior connection to Trina would hear her voice before he did. Her most dedicated follower, whose devotion to her has defined his entire existence, so to be denied her voice while you've been chosen is understandably quite devastating. It's possible that Trina did choose you because of your potential and strength, qualities that suggest you have the ambition to stop Miquella's plan. Thiollier, in contrast, is self-admittedly very weak in both body and mind, sadly making him unsuitable for the task despite his unwavering loyalty. But this rejection pushes Thiollier over the edge as he refuses to accept the notion that he is unworthy.
Please, enough. I cannot believe your cheek, and I will stand for it no longer. I will never forgive you.
Despite how many times you try to pass on what you hear, Thiollier cannot accept your words. He is not the one Trina chose. His obsessive dedication to her has closed his eyes to the truth that he was never meant to be her champion, only a follower, chasing her in his dreams. Or at least trying to. But even that he couldn't do. And he takes this to heart so much that when you next return to the area, you are invaded by Thiollier. Despite his admitted weakness, he does display a proficiency with poison, scattering clouds of toxins as he fights you. However, as he had earlier revealed, his body is weak and he cannot stand up to your strength for long. It is a shame that it had to come to this, trading blows with a comrade, but could this be character growth? Thiollier, once meek and scared, has been driven by passion to the point of rage. He is the one who invades you and challenges you head-on, something that previously would have been unimaginable for him. After his defeat, Thiollier is humbled by his loss, but still stubborn as ever.
I suppose dying in disgrace is fitting, in a way. Tell me, please, assuming you spoke the truth back then, what did St. Trina tell you? You are a wretched, wretched soul. A nightmare come to plague me.
There is a haunting irony in Thiollier's use of the word nightmare. While he devoted his life to chasing Trina's restful, velvety sleep, only to have you become a source of waking terror for him, his nightmare. A potential alternative reason for Thiollier's desperation is that he had got a taste for it previously, but was left wanting. According to the description of his headpiece, it states, just once, Thiollier was granted the sweet repose of velvety sleep. The remainder of his days would be spent attempting to recapture it. St. Trina may have visited Thiollier at one point, or perhaps he saw her in a dream and has been figuratively chasing her ever since. All of this sounds very familiar to the elusive character of Fevor, the author of specific cookbooks in the base game. A man who was utterly captivated by St. Trina, he continued the search for her in his slumber. This description of Fevor sounds eerily similar to Thiollier's plight. Both men were captivated by Trina and spent their lives searching for her, even in sleep, hoping to commune with her again. Thiollier's search for St. Trina, even to the point of risking his life by inducing deep sleep, shows how captivating she really is. Sleep and death, love and poison, these themes seem to go hand in hand with Trina, her irresistible influence captivating those who fall into her sleep, whether she's doing this intentionally or not. Everyone loves Trina, but that love can become toxic, like in real life.
You must kill Miquella.
St. Trina, please, let me hear your voice.
Thiollier's internal struggle between his loyalty to Miquella and his devotion to St. Trina reaches a split in the path. On one hand, Miquella, his master, is someone he has served faithfully and followed into the land of shadow. On the other hand, Trina, his idol, the one he worships, has made it clear that Miquella's ambition to ascend to godhood must be stopped. Miquella must die to continue serving Miquella, or to fulfill the will of Trina, who commands him to turn against his master. Your decisions in Thiollier's quest will culminate in the Battle of Allies. This confrontation pits you and any other NPCs you might have swayed against Leda and her faithful followers of Miquella, and if you have successfully completed Thiollier's quest, he will, to your surprise, stand by your side in this battle when the time is right. In this moment, Thiollier, once hesitant and weak, shows an unexpected resolve. He entirely devotes himself to Trina, forsaking Miquella and his prior allegiances to fight for what he now believes is right.
I am here to serve St. Trina evermore.
Its character development. Our Thiollier, weak as a kitten and thick as two planks, is now standing with conviction, willing to face his former comrades in battle for Trina's sake. However, this does come with the sad consequence that he must face some more, a friend who previously assisted him. When they reunite, they look to each other, but this time from different sides of the battlefield.
Simone, I do not wish to fight you, but I have a new purpose I must see through.
You and I, fighting. Tragedy this is.
Two friends are forced into battle, not out of hatred, but out of conflicting loyalties. Thiollier has become someone willing to sacrifice everything for the cause he believes in. And perhaps the most unexpected turn in Thiollier's character arc occurs at the end of the game. To your shock, Thiollier is also an NPC summon for the final boss fight, ready to face one of the game's most formidable enemies. Should he fall during this fight, his determination and faith in you do not waver.
It's up to you now. Grant St. Trina's one wish.
Upon defeating the final boss and fulfilling Thiollier's, and in turn Trina's request, players are met with a sad yet beautiful scene upon returning to her chamber. Trina appears to have collapsed on the floor. All that remains is a single flower, a poignant representation of her essence and connection to the world. St. Trina's life withered and fell, as fleeting as the seasons. At last, she left a single water lily. At the end of their short lives, she wilted like a flower. Hurt and exhausted, Trina could finally rest in her own eternal sleep, knowing that her other half, Miquella, had been saved from his doom. Thank you everybody so much for watching this video. I hope it wasn't too trippy with me turning my head at the beginning. I felt like it just looked right with the way I drew the nectar down her face. It looked better when I was facing to the side. This just kind of looks like I got punched in the side of the face. Really appreciate you watching my video. And if you're interested, maybe go back and watch this old St. Trina video before the DLC came out, just to compare how different my thoughts and predictions were then. Can't wait to see you in the next video. A special thank you to my channel members and patrons.